Okay. Today we have the two things to study. One is called the difference between physical capital and the human capital of an economy. We studied capital. What is capital? Anything which is used for the sake of further production. For example, factory, machinery, factory building, machinery, and anything which is used for the sake of further production in our classroom, in our school, these furniture chairs and this building, all these are the capital assets of this school. Clear? So when we have more and more physical capital available in the country, that we have innovations in the production of new capital goods that will increase the productive potential of that country. What will increase? The productive potential of a country, and it will increase its future economic growth or potential economic growth, because more production of capital goods will make a country or will enable a country to have more consumer goods in the upcoming years. And those people who will be present in the future, they will have higher living standard than the previous generations. If a country is focusing on the production of new capital goods, which is the physical capital. Follow my point? So physical capital is actually the number of capital goods which are produced by a country in a given time period. I gave you the example of net investment. Investment means what? The creation of new capital goods. When new capital goods are produced, it means the country is having more and more investment. If net investment means what? Gross investment minus depreciation of the capital goods. When net investment of a country is increasing, so it means it is going to have more physical capital items, and that will play a very important role in the economic growth of country in the upcoming years or in future. Alright. So how a country is able to have more capital goods, that depends. If it has lower consumption at present time, it starts saving now. At present time our consumption level will decrease, but in future we will have more production of capital goods. So at the cost of the present living standard, a country will have a higher living standard in the future by having more capital goods to be produced at present, and those capital goods will be able to have more consumer goods in the future. Now come towards the other type of capital, that is called human capital. We studied labor, that these are the physical and mental services of the human beings in the production units to produce the goods and services. Alright, in a given time period. Now what do we mean by the human capital? These are actually educated, highly educated and trained people of a country's labor force. For example, you are getting education, so after doing your master degree, research work or PhD degree, you will become the human capital of this nation. Because your services will not be demanded for your own sake, but they will be demanded for the sake of production of other goods. So when a country is having more education of their labor force, their productive potential in the form of human capital will also increase. Clear? So the developing countries where the literacy rate is very lower, what is happening in those countries, they are going to have less human capital. Although those lower developing countries or lower middle income countries, they have a lot of natural wealth in the form of crude oil, in the form of gold mines, iron mines or diamond mines, but they lack the human capital along with the physical capital. So can you think that that country will be able to benefit from that natural wealth, where it is lacking the human capital along with the physical capital. So when these two things are unavailable with the country at present time, so what will happen? Their economic growth will also be decreasing, and they will be dependent upon the labor force, the highly skilled people from the other countries, or the physical capital which will be used to extract that natural wealth for this country which is having this, which is owning this wealth. So these two are actually, when a country is focusing on the production of new physical items of capital and the human capital, so that both of them will have to increase the productive potential, or long run economic growth of the country will definitely increase. Follow my point? The difference between the physical capital and the human capital. That's a small topic which we have covered. In this case, I covered this thing because sometimes there can be an MCQ, or sometimes there can be a question from these two. So you must be able to understand the difference between these two and what is their role in the economic performance of a country. Basically, this is the main thing. A country, if it is blessed with so many natural resources, but it is lacking the human capital, it is lacking the physical capital, so it cannot get benefit of from that natural wealth which is abundantly available in that country. So usually the developing countries, they are having a large size of population, but they are not having enough number of human capital to be utilized in order to extract that natural wealth. And there is a term which is called brain drain. Do you know brain drain? What do you mean by brain drain? The educated people, the doctors, the engineers, the chartered accountants, they have been produced by our country, but they are serving to other countries. They go abroad.
They leave their home country.
Yes, they leave their home country for the sake of earning more income abroad. So we say some people, they are going abroad to get education over there. Once they complete their education, they don't come back to their homeland. And they are offered the nationalities in those developed countries. So actually that was over human capital which was trained abroad or trained over here, but they have left our country for the sake of earning more income in those countries. So this is called a brain drain. Many of the Pakistanis, they are foreign qualified, but they are not serving to our nation, but they are serving to other nations. So although we have the human capital, but it is not benefiting us, it is benefiting the other countries' economic growth. Clear? Now come towards the other topic which is called division of labor and specialization. What do you mean by division of labor?
Dividing the labor from different tasks.
Yes. Can we have division of labor in our body as well? What is the basic unit of living organisms? You might have studied a cell is the basic unit of living organism, the simplest form of living organism. So our body is composed of different types of body cells. By the process of division of those cells, we are having more the number of cells as we grow up. So what is happening in our case of body? In brain we are also having the cells, but they are performing a task of making the decisions. Either it is good decision or bad decision, that's another thing. But the task of brain is to make the decisions, whatever the information is transmitted to the brain through our senses. Clear? And the heart cells, they are having the task of pumping blood into the body, and stomach cells, they are assigned a task of digesting the food. Clear? So when we see in our body different organs, they are performing different tasks and the whole body is functioning well. Every cell in our body cannot perform all types of tasks which are available. So by nature we see in order to have a successful living of a person or any living organism, their body organs which are composed of or made up of different cells, and those cells are having specialization. That stomach cells are specialists of digesting food. They cannot pump blood in our body. Clear? So by this thing the whole body is running successfully and we are having healthier life. And if any organ of our body becomes sick, the whole body is not functioning well. For example, heart is not functioning well, stomach is not functioning well. We have the sickness due to these organisms malfunctioning. So my aim was to tell you that division of labor is also present in the nature. Clear? So we are not studying biology or the living organism, we are studying economics, where economic activities of production that is taking place. Actually, this idea came from the person who was considered to be the father of this subject. His name was Adam Smith. I gave you his name earlier. He wrote a book in 1795. The name of the book was The Wealth of the Nations, and he visited one of the pin manufacturing firm, and he observed over there are 20 separate tasks in order to produce a single pin. If all those 20 tasks are performed by one person, so by the end of the day the firm was having a small number of firms produced. That every task was performed by one person. Clear? What happened? He asked the owner of that firm, if you divide this pin manufacturing into 20 separate individuals and everyone is doing a specific task, so by the end of the day it was resulted into the mass production of pins by the same firm. And what was the reason? The reason was the division of labor. And by repeating the same task again and again, or concentrating on the same task again and again, this is the process of specialization. By adopting division of labor, the workers, they are assigned a specific task and they are repeating the same task again and again, so they will become specialists, and this process of repetition or concentration of task is called specialization. Can we find division of labor and specialization in education as well? Definitely, your time intervals, your time spent during the school hours, that is 3 to 4 hours. So those 3 to 4 hours are divided into smaller intervals of 45 minutes or 50 minutes. In every interval, a specific subject teacher is going to teach you a subject. For example, I am teaching economics. If I am given a task to teach you all the 3 subjects, accounts, business and economics, do you think you will be able to understand better and I will be able to cover all the things efficiently? This is not the case. So when we divide the whole process into smaller tasks, then it promotes specialization, and its results are that there will be, what are the results or advantages? We will find the mass production. What do we find? When the goods are produced in large quantity due to specialization and division of labor, that is called mass production. And by repeating same task again and again, another thing will take place. What is that? Can you tell me what is the other thing which will happen? It will, what?
Can you repeat what you were asking?
I am saying by repeating same task again and again, what will be the other thing which will be the result of this specialization? The productivity of factors of production will also increase. What happens? Productivity. What do you mean by productivity? Do you know?
The productive
Per worker output per period of time. Like in 1 hour, how much units of output have been produced by each worker? You find out the total output produced by all the workers. then divided by the total number of workers, that will give you per worker output per period of time in 1 hour or in 1 day according to the production of the goods. So we say when specialization and division of labor is adopted, mass production is the result and it will also increase the productivity of workers. And when productivity increases, what happens? Per unit cost of production will decrease. What happens? The long run average cost or per unit cost,
The business will achieve economies of scale.
will decrease. What you are saying?
The business will achieve economies of scale.
Yes, this is called the economies of scale. When long run average cost of business is decreasing, so if we saying the production or producer will achieve internal economies of scale, you can say, due to this way. Alright. Now another benefit of this specialization is standardized products. What do you mean by standardized products? Do you know that every product which is produced by a worker, that will be having a same standard? If we look at this board marker, thousands of markers are produced of the same size, of same quality. Alright, the goods which are produced by division of labor and specialization, they are more standardized. You cannot find the difference in each unit produced with each other, because the goods which have been produced by this specialization, they will have more standardization. Now, in order to make the task further easier, what workers are doing? They are inventing new methods of production. They will invent new tools as well to make the task easier. So, invention of tools. Or you can say new machinery can be invented to these tools. So, it will also increase what? Further productivity of the workers when new methods of production are adopted. I said it earlier. This is called process innovation. And new process innovation or new methods of production will further decrease the per unit cost of production of the firms. And when we find these things, they are present, so we can have more products produced, so they need to be traded more. There is a mass production, they require more specialist markets to sell these products. And when these goods are more traded, so more economic growth will take place. So how much it is beneficial that the division of labor and specialization are bringing more economic growth, more goods are produced, more markets are developed, and in order to sell these goods, we should have a very efficient form of transportation of the goods. If goods have been produced and we don't have efficient transportation of the goods, then goods will remain in the stock rooms, alright. So when they are piling up in the case of stock or inventories, that will decrease what? Investment in the upcoming years. So in order to get the most beneficial effects of specialization, the goods need to be traded, and for that purpose we should also have an efficient way of transportation of goods in that country. Clear? If you are transporting the goods to other countries, again a quick and efficient way and safe transportation of goods will benefit a country more if the transportation system is inefficient. That comes in our MCQs, that's why I raised this point. Now, do you find the disadvantages of, there can be other advantages as well, you can find out. What are the disadvantages of division of labor? First of all, we say this is a monotonous job. Monotonous means what? It is one directed. That every day, every time, each worker has to perform the same task again and again. There is no innovation at all in his task. Like if I am teaching economics since 2001, so every time I am doing the same thing. I am not going to have any other subject to teach, or any worker who is performing the same task year after year. So that is called one directed job, although it is having benefits of specialization. But it is another thing which is going to happen, that is, it is boring. A worker will become bored when he or she is performing one task on everyday basis again and again. That is called a boring task. The third thing which will take place into this, that is interdependence. What do you mean by interdependence? When one worker is absent, the others cannot perform the task. So whole production process can be stopped. That's why in order to overcome this problem, now the firms are deciding that they want to rotate the worker's job, that everyone should be multi-skilled. Rather to have one type of skill, that creates another thing, occupational immobility. Occupational immobility, like job is available in another occupation, but due to specialization or lack of skills in other occupations, he or she cannot move to that. Now the firms, they are adopting a method of production in which they have rotational jobs for each worker, that everyone should have a skill to do all types of tasks in the production. When one is absent, so he should be replaced by other worker as well. Occupational immobility is going to be the result of specialization, and we have one thing, the workers will consider themselves like machines which are feeling less. The owner of the business, this will create alienation, or the workers will become against the owner, because owner is thinking that these workers are not having feeling of happiness and sadness. They just have to come to the firm and produce the goods and services. Clear? So this is what the workers, they will become angry with the owners or entrepreneurs, because they are considered like a machine, or which is feeling less. So that will create a little bit of antagonism between the worker and his employer. Clear? So this is what we find the benefits of specialization and division of labor, and how it is going to have the harmful effects of specialization. Now I want to tell you one thing. Should I erase it from here? Specialization will result into trade. What is trade? Exchange of goods and services among the buyers and sellers. What it is? Specialization requires trade. This is the exchange of goods and services among the buyers and sellers. Alright? Now there are three levels of specialization. One is called individual level of specialization. Level of specialization. Like one person is a doctor, another is engineer, so they are the individual specialists. A doctor cannot perform a task of engineer, and engineer cannot do the other way around. Clear? So when we see both are dependent upon each other, so when they are exchanging their services with each other, so there will be the emergence of trade, which is called interpersonal trade. What it is called? The two persons, they are trading with each other. Alright? The volume of trade is very less, because this is an individual level of specialty. You can find one individual firm that is specialist of producing only footballs. Another firm is only the specialist of producing cloths. This is also a type of individual specialization. Even one firm is there, it is also having a specialization. So when they are exchanging cloth and footballs with each other, so that level of trade will be called interpersonal trade or inter-firm trade. You can say that when the two firms are exchanging, that will be called inter-firm trade with each other. Now, the second level of specialization is regional level. Can we find the two regions of our countries are having separate specializations, or two regions of different countries? They can also have the specialization. In our country, if I talk about the region of Faisalabad, that is going to have a specialization in the production of textile items. And in our case of Sialkot, it is having a specialization in sports items. So when these two regions are trading with each other, the trade volume will further higher than the individual level of trade. Clear? So this level of trade will be called inter-regional trade. What it is? Inter-regional trade will have more volume and regions have become specialists. Follow me points or no? So volume of trade will increase, more economic growth will take place, although it creates further dependency among the individuals and regions as well. Now the third level of specialization is what? That is called national level. Do you know in which product we have our national specialization? That is, we are also called cotton-based economy. We are having more specialization in the production of cotton and textile, and rice is also our main line of export. Clear? We are called agrarian economy. What type of economy we are? Agrarian, which is more dependent upon agricultural sector and favorable weather condition. If the weather is unfavorable, like we have in this year, most of our country part is flooded. So our main area of specialization, that is cotton, that is destroyed. Almighty Allah knows what is the benefit of this thing in future, but right now apparently we see most of the production of cotton has been destroyed. So at national level we are specialists of agricultural commodities, cotton and textile. If I talk about Japan, in which product they are having national level of specialization? Cars, technology. So the two countries, the two nations, they are also having specialization. So when they trade with each other, they have international trade. What I wanted to tell you, as the level of specialization is promoted from individual to national level, actually national level of specialization is also based upon individual. When many individuals in a country, they are producing the similar types of products. So as a nation, a country will have a national specialization. Clear? So the volume of trade will be international trade. So more countries, when they are trading with each other, they are opening the doors of trade with each other. So more economic growth will take place among them. Clear? So can we say, if I ask you, discuss whether specialization is always beneficial to a country or to the world? It requires also diversification. When countries are totally dependent upon one thing of export, and that product, like in our case cotton, if it is having destruction of cotton due to unfavorable destruction of production of cotton actually, due to unfavorable weather, the whole economy will face a turmoil or economic turmoil in this case. A recession will take place, there will be more unemployment. Saudi Arabia is more dependent upon production of oil. If oil runs out, their whole economy will face a sharp decline in their export revenues. So a country along with specialization, they should also diversify. They have multi-products to be specialists. So in one area, they are going to have decline in their exports or decline in their specialization area. Another will give them an economic boost. Clear? So specialization, although it is beneficial, but nowadays we should also focus on diversification. We should have multi-specialization areas in case of individual, in case of regions, in case of national level. Clear? I think that's all for today. So we should go for the next lesson tomorrow.